This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The second CELAC summit came to an end in Cuba yesterday.
Well, the country's prime minister was there and received a huge response on issues that are critical to the Bahamas.
Julian Reed was in Havana for the summit.
Prime Minister Christie was met with pomp and pageantry in Havana.
We are down here to work for the region.
Estamos aquí para trabajar por la región.
And the Americas.
Por las Américas.
And we hope that we have very fruitful discussions.
Espero que tengamos muy fructíferas discusiones.
Towards being able to have a real effort at eradicating poverty and leading our people to a better life.
And for the Bahamas, it was fruitful. A special declaration was made at CELAC regarding the Bahamas' concerns about migration and illegal fishing. Prime Minister Christie said in an intervention during a closed session that he was happy the summit embraced those issues. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell also commented.
The problem we have with fishermen from the Dominican Republic. You know that there's a national security team has been in the Dominican Republic over the last few days, including the Attorney General and the Minister of National Security. So this is a front and center issue for us. And we're happy that there was a special declaration made adopting the Bahamian position on it.
On the regional front, one issue that the Bahamas is concerned about will take further negotiation, although progress continues to be made. Venezuela is now mediating the issue of the Dominican Republic's court ruling that affects the future of tens of thousands of Haitians in that country.
The Bahamian position is that the processes should be allowed to be worked out by the parties involved. The Haitian government takes the position that they're in dialogue with the Dominican Republic. This is a process which is being mediated by the government of Venezuela, so we support those processes. You know that we have our own migration issues with Haiti, so this is a very sensitive matter for the Bahamian public.
The next CELAC summit will be in Costa Rica in 2015. Julian Reed, ZNS Network News.
BTC was a privately held company for barely 2 years when Prime Minister Christie's newly elected administration asked Cable and Wireless to return to the negotiating table. We asked lead negotiator Franklin Wilson about the boldness of the prospect of a fresh deal between a new investor and an even newer government.
And it took us a while to get Cable and Wireless to accept that 49% of a business enterprise where their interests were fully aligned with those of the government, chances are they would make more money than with 51% where they were constantly fighting with the government. I think at the end of the day, therefore, what they were doing was buying goodwill.
BTC was a privately held company for barely 2 years when Prime Minister Christie's newly elected administration asked Cable and Wireless to return to the negotiating table. We asked lead negotiator Franklin Wilson about the boldness of the prospect of a fresh deal between a new investor and an even newer government.
I said on Sunday that, look, we offered them, say, we will double your money and pay the penalty. They says, it's too cheap. We're not interested. You see, that gives us, the public, again, a clue just how unwise that transaction was. The fact that after less than a matter of a few years, we say you'll double your money and pay you this huge penalty, $40 million. And they said no. Okay. Now, so what they said was, if you want this, because we won't sell it to you at any price, that only left us one way to get it. The one way to get it would have been, we would have to go to Parliament, do what is called expropriate it. That is, take it by force. Okay? Plus pay the $40 million penalty. Now, the fact of the matter is, if we had done that, the consequences for the country would have been truly horrendous.
Wilson says Cable and Wireless initially resisted any negotiations and the prospect of selling, but eventually the company softened its stance and agreed to come to the table. And that's when the government made its first move and learned a big lesson about the company's value.
The matter is, if it was 49-49 exact, when we vote, you'd have a tie.
Okay. I got you.
You have to find some way to break a tie. So to break the tie, they have 0.008. But for us to get control, we have 0.992. So from our point of view, we have a greater differential than they have in terms of what our objective was, which was majority economic control, than what they have in terms of voting control.
The Ministry of Education held its annual National Awards ceremony today at the Church of God Convention Center.
Students from across the archipelago gathered to be honored for receiving 5 or more A's on their national exams. Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald addressed the students, encouraging them to remain focused on academic success. Stephen Saunders, formerly of SC McPherson Junior High, took home the award for Best BJC results.
That's it, just hard work. Study hard, work hard, and you'll get it. And my parents and teachers, they were involved a lot in my studying, so once I got them, I know I could do it.
Nicholas Knowles, head boy at St. Andrew's School, weighed in on the importance of such an event.
The community. Well, this is where we recognize the efforts of the students that have really struggled and strive for excellence here. And there's so many great examples of students that are really paving the way for a brighter future, you know? And that's, we deserve to recognize them, because now things are getting kind of rough in the Bahamas, so we need ceremonies like these to, you know, lift the spirits of everyone and to show them that the youth are there and they're there to make a big impact on the future.
The Ministry of Tourism is getting set to host the United Nations World Tourism Organization Conference for Small Island Developing States. This as the ministry has designated February as Golden Jubilee Sustainable Tourism Month. The conference will address a range of relevant tourism issues impacting island destinations, including sustainability. Director of Sustainable Development in the Ministry of Tourism, Earlston McPhee, says it's a critical undertaking, especially as the industry is growing.
This sustainable development, as it's a catchword now throughout, and it's very important from the economics perspective and also the environmental perspective. It deals with cultural aspects. So for us, being a small island developing state and having such a fragile ecosystem, when we develop, it is very important that we keep the environment in perspective, as well as the people, because the people are part of the environment.
The two-day conference begins on February 19th and is just one part of the ministry's 50th anniversary celebrations. Lydia Adderley in the Sustainable Tourism Department says as a follow-up to the conference, the ministry will host students interested in learning more about sustainable development.
We're hosting a sustainability expo for students between February 25th and the 27th to really open up their minds to how they can be involved in sustainable development, largely in regards to exposing them to different career alternatives in sustainability, things like solar power, environmental art, cultural activities, and how they can turn that into businesses for themselves in the future.
National Congress of Trade Unions President John Pinder is lobbying for the government to raise the current minimum wage. Pinder says as countries like the U.S. are now considering an increase, it's something he's hoping our government will consider for Bahamians, especially those who are struggling to make ends meet.
But let's put it this way, the cost of living in the United States is just as high as it is in the Bahamas. As a matter of fact, I dare to say the Bahamas cost of living is higher than the United States. We have $5.20 as a minimum wage. The United States President, in his address in the State of the Union Affairs, is asking that it goes to $10.10 in this country. We believe that it's time for our government to also look at the minimum wage of this country that cause persons to be able to enjoy better salaries.
Now, Pinder, who was addressing the Rotary Club of West Nassau on Thursday, said that those who fall into the minimum wage category are more often than not subjected to hard labor. And considering that, he says U.S. President Barack Obama was on point in his State of the Union address when he talked about minimum wage workers being underpaid.
He alluded to the fact that even though the person may only be washing the dishes, they cause that establishment to be profitable. And so sometimes I feel so sad for persons who there's a minimum wage placed on a particular task at $150 for the most part. They can't make more than that, even though these same persons may be causing a business establishment to be very successful and make millions of dollars. And so we would like to see the government pay persons for the amount of physical strength they need to perform a task, the mental capacity that is needed for them to be able to perform a task, and the time they spend in these workplaces.
The newest executives of the Bahamas National Youth Council were sworn in last evening during a special ceremony at Government House. The executives will serve a 3-year term and received their instruments from Deputy to the Governor General, Dame Marguerite Pinling. The BNYC is the umbrella organization for all youth organizations in the country and is charged with assisting and advising the government on youth issues as well as promote national development campaigns of their own. Newly elected President Christopher Higgs says he plans to focus his board's efforts on the social development and economic empowerment of young people.
Through social development, we will continue the discussion about a national nutrition program for students within our primary, junior, and senior high schools to ensure that they eat and live healthier lives. We are also about to launch our United for Peace campaign that encompasses a community painting program in which we will partner with the Ministry of National Security, the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, and the Pro Society of the College of the Bahamas to expose at-risk youth to the intricacies of art mural painting and help beautify their own communities.
Among those in attendance were U.S. Deputy Chief of Mission John Armstrong and Cuban Ambassador His Excellency Ernesto Guzman. As the executives are among the youth poised to become tomorrow's leaders, Dame Marguerite urged government to work closely with young people.
Our time has come where we must politely recognize our place in society and, with great humility, groom these young people to take on the baton of change to manage our country's affairs. These young people here this evening and young people within the country are the ones we must ensure receive the proper wisdom from persons such as others and myself.
Coming up in sports, highlights from Night League basketball.
And also ahead in Family Island news, the latest on the Abaco Airport. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.